Hey there, BookTube. Noah, nice to see you again. Thank you for joining me for another installment of Ulysses 2020. James Joyce is the man. This is a really fun read. It's a lot funner than you might think. Just hearing all the scholarly or academic kind of talk surrounding it. It definitely deserves that. There's a lot to this work, but you don't need to understand all of it to enjoy it. I mean, it's a fun read, fun characters, all that. But we're still in the first part. This will be the last video on the first part, episode 3, Proteus. I'm reading it in conjunction with the Ulysses annotated, Don Gifford. This is great. Just to give you ways to work into parts of the text that just might be totally obscure, and you're like, what is that? And it turns out it's like some historical thing, or some play, that's based on the a story in the Bible or something like that that we just don't have any experience with in our culture, American culture here, or another culture that's not Irish, or even there, it's over 100 years old now. This story, so you run into those things, historical figures that you don't have any context for, and whatever. So there's no shame in using some annotated help there. I think it's totally necessary to grab onto some of the points that are interesting, but might just kind of fly, under the radar if you don't have something to show you what it is that Joyce is pointing at. So just a little quick overview first. In Proteus, we follow Stephen after he gets his money, gets paid for work. He's a teacher. Not a very he's not very invested in teaching. I don't think it is, he's a learner. He's a lifelong learner. This guy is that kind of person, a thinker. But he's an all right teacher, I'm sure. But you just get a point. You just get, maybe he's just distracted right now. But if he's distracted right now, then he's been distracted for the past year. When it comes down to it, Stephen is battling within himself the acceptance of his mother dying. And it's been, almost a year. But he has people in his life, Buck Mulligan, one, and DZ, his superior at the school too, that just give him no wiggle room for growth. They want to pin him down. They want to tell him what's what. They want to have him doing their will, and it's not so overt like that, but that's what it is. You know what I mean? We can do mental gymnastics with ourselves. We can kid ourselves all the time in what we're really doing in our life, but the actions speak louder than words. That's why they say that, because when it comes down to it, you can justify, an action by, I'm trying to help this guy out. My motivations are this or that. But if you're holding somebody back, or if you're, actually, dealing with somebody in an uncaring way, then that's just what it is, anyways. You can, excuses galore, but whatever. So, Stephen leaves the school and he's feeling pretty bad. He doesn't have enough money to pay, his debts off, even if he, really wanted to do that. It's not. It's just that's not a priority. Stephen's not a very materialistic person. It seems he's more into the mind and maybe something spiritual, but he's definitely into the mind and literature, and loves Dante, loves Milton, loves Aristotle, stuff like that. So, there's just things like that where, I kind of get Stephen, at least initially here. We still just met him, but in chapter 3, you're in his mind. He's walking, and he's just walking, and he's got time to kill before, Buck Mulligan has told him, they gotta meet up and have a pint, So he's got time to kill, and he's just walking, doesn't have anything to do, walking aimless. I might go here, I might go there, kind of stuff, and he's just walking, and he knows not where he's even going, and he goes towards a place, his aunt's house, and continues walking, and is like, oh well, I guess I'm not going there, because I walked past it, and keeps going, ends up at the beach, walks down the beach a little bit, uh, this whole time we're just locked in Stephen's thoughts. So I want to give a little bit of the setting there a little bit. He's on the beach then. There's a dead dog in the little gully over there. So he sits down on the rocks off the beach and just watching the beach, and you get a kind of a sense of juxtaposition with the dead dog and Stephen, because in the first chapter when Buck Mulligan's calling him dog body, just kind of a workhorse, do this, do that kind of thing, like just a useful animal or something like that, but definitely belittling to Stephen. I mean, he's not there to praise him or to build him up, that's for sure. So Stephen sits down, writes something on a rock over there. I kind of took it first to be something like, I'm not dead, like this dog over here, I'm not dead, just sleeping, so that he wouldn't be disturbed. And he kind of sits back. He's watching a couple go down the beach, walk down the beach with their dog live, running around, having fun, and he's thinking, he's seeing this, the gulls, the sea rolling in, rolling waves, and then takes a little nap, maybe takes dozes a bit, and there we go. We kind of leave him on the beach there. But this chapter is not, not at all about what I've just said right there. What it is, let's see, we're at 31 to 42. So it's about 11 pages of stream of consciousness in Stephen's mind, as all that is what's happening, and he's just sticking to himself. So I'm gonna just kind of touch on some things that of course, there's so much to talk about, and I don't pretend to know, or to be able to grind through a chapter like this. I mean, we could talk. We could explore it and talk about different points for a day, a full day. It's there's so much. We could look at the plays, look at the songs, look at the different stuff that comes up. But we're doing this as a group, so I will do my part and pull out what is more interesting to me, to just kind of touch on, and then let the others do their thing with it as well. And then hopefully at the end of that, we have something that actually does present the episode more fully. So I want to just say, along with this one, hashtag Ulysses 2020. That's where you're going to find all of the vids. So I think this is the first one touching episode 3. So I want to start off, just kind of my take on it by saying how poetic and beautiful that this chapter is. This is the first chapter, the first episode, the third one, that really I saw how beautiful Joyce could write, how poetic he was. It's a real treat. So the end of the chapter, I'm going to read two parts, and this is just what struck me in first reading, and I love it. So this is line 450 or 458, and then 5960, and then I'm going to jump down and read 470, maybe a few lines there. And so these are just, 10 lines apart. So they definitely kind of relate to each other, especially in the poetic language that Joyce is doing. And I could probably just read straight through and find more, beautiful little things. But this is what jumped out at me at first reading, and also that I've revisited and kind of just to really, respect what he's doing. All right. So it is. In cups of rocks it slops, flops, slop, slap, bounded in barrels, and spent its speech ceases. It flows purling, widely flowing, floating foam pool, flower unfurling. 5 fathoms out there, full fathom 5, thy father lies. At 1, he said, found drowned. High water at Dublin's bar, driving before it a drift of rubble, fan shoals of fishes, silly shells. So, we're getting the sea, and the sea is sparking off ideas for Stephen. Just thoughts. He's not controlling his thoughts. It's just coming up. And that's what we get this whole chapter. So that's just a little bit of the beauty in which this is written. I loved it. That much alliteration and it's just great. There's a lot of, he's going all over. It's not that Stephen's going all over. It's that you're in the mind of someone that is not you. I think that if we were in the mind of any one person, even a close friend of ours or a family member that we shared most of our life with, the thoughts and the associations that come up, if we were really in the mind and able to hear what's going on from their perspective, it would seem to us completely random. We don't make the same associations. We don't have the same feelings toward very, very minute detail things that somebody else does. And so it seems random because it's somebody else. But to you, your thoughts seem, you know why, you're sparked into a song or something, and you know why, because of seeing a flower or smelling something or hearing one word, and you're in a song, and you know that association. But for anybody else, almost, that would seem random. So I just wanted to say that I think that it seems like 3 is random. There's some randomness to it, but I think that is actually the stream of consciousness done well. That's what it is. So I want to back up through the chapter. I'm going to go backwards, but I'm actually now at close to the beginning. One of the things that Stephen is getting at, that kind of at the beginning of this, I want to just kind of point out, Stephen is concerned with his soul. He's referring to it. He calls it form of forms, which is a perceptive thing in itself. But he's concerned with his soul. So where this starts off is something that definitely bores that out a little bit. That is why mystic monks, will you be as gods? Gaze on your omphalos. Hello, Knitch here. Child. That's Buck Mulligan's little nickname for him. Child here. Put me on to Edenville. Alpha, not 1. Spouse and helpmate of Adam Kadmon, Heva, naked Eve, she has no navel. Gaze, belly without blemish, bulging big, a buckler of taut vellum. No, white heaped corn, orient and immortal, standing from everlasting to everlasting, womb of sin. So here, this was super interesting to me and gave me some context here for Stephen's thoughts here right at the beginning. So, will you be as gods? Will you accept, your place? Will you accept what it is you want? Will you accept it? Can you accept it? That kind of thing is, I think, what that question is getting at. And it's a valid question for everybody. That's a question that everybody is going to ask themselves at some point in their life. Can I do I try for something that I want to do, would like to do? Do I try for that and maybe fail because I'm inept or don't have the effort, or so many ways you can second guess yourself. Do I try anyways? Do I go for it? Do I have courage and live in that way? Or do I just accept that, hey, if I just float through life, if I just roll on, everything's going to be okay anyways. I don't have to do anything. And shirk that responsibility and live very live ultimately unsatisfied, but you're protecting yourself from failure and feeling really bad about yourself if you're of the temperament to sit and beat yourself up. So I get it. Gaze on your omphalos. Hello, Knitch here. Kinch here. Put me on to Edenville. So I took that as you must be as a child to enter heaven. You must be as a small child, is what it says. And so he calls himself child. Hey, I'm the child of all these a-holes, bring me on to Eden, because he's obviously if he's a child, he's called child by his friend, his buddy, on a daily basis. So that just kind of, maybe he's being sarcastic there, but also I think he's being hermetic, and that is taking whatever it is, substance from the real life, thoughts, words, and actions, taking those and looking at them symbolically, and seeing that it is the truth, that doesn't invalidate what's going on in any kind of way. You must be as a small children to enter the kingdom of God. Then, he's called a child every day of his life. He's called child all the time by Buck Mulligan. That I think is part of why I like Stephen, because everything is for him. I think everything, his experience with Dante, Milton, Blake, Aristotle, it's all for him. If he's not using it and applying it, then what use is it? So he's doing that. The next, alpha, not one. This is the beginning, calling to life, calling to mind, or to thought, the beginning of everything. Aleph is the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet, one, that does not have any sound associated with it. It's only put at the beginning of words, denoting spirit. It is spirit. It is the kind of thing that is unaccessible, kind of thing. A mystery is what it is. Aleph and Alpha, the Greek Alpha, the beginning, the first, the beginning of everything. Alpha, not one. And I take the not one. This is Kabbalah, which is based on Hermetic ideas anyway. So the Kabbalah is in the way that God created in the Kabbalah. There was nothing, but not exactly nothing. There's actually nothing but God, and God is not manifest in any form or in anything, spatial, temporal, anything that we can understand. So there's not. There's actually nothing, but it's not even nothing. It's not. It's just a total unintellectually understood. You can't intellectually understand nothing, the nothing that we're talking about there. It is absence of everything, of any frame of reference of anything you can think of. And then, so that's the first not. And the second not is God manifesting himself in a way of being limitless. So filling whatever, it doesn't make sense to say filling space, but becoming manifest in some very rarefied form, like just being. There is a beingness, and that's it. There's not any frame of reference for anything else. It's still just one thing, God. But it's more manifested in a way, just being, rather than unmanifested being in that. And then that's the second not. And then the third is one, not one. And the one is limitless light. So that is an actual manifestation. By the one right there, then there's an actual manifestation happening. Light fills whatever there is to fill. Light is all that there is. So, I think that Stephen there is calling into, mind being a creative. Being a creative being. Because the process of creating something is the same. Whether you're, whether you're creating a building, a town, or you're writing, a poem, or you're painting a picture, or you're writing a song on your instrument. There's nothing. Then there is the shape or the beginnings of an idea, inspiration. It might not even be something that is formed in any kind of way, verbally, mentally, or anything, but there's something, an impulse there, and then there's inspiration. Boom. And you do it. We have to take action, the human being. But the process is the same. The degrees between, us creating something, a little drawing on a piece of paper, and God creating, all of the manifested universe is varying in degrees. That's to put it lightly, right? After that, spouse and helpmate of Adam Kadmon, naked Eve. So he's calling out Adam Kadmon, which is the first man, but not the first man like Adam in the story of Adam and Eve that you might just kind of call to mind quickly in the Bible. Adam Kadmon is the first man in Kabbalah that is actually all humanity. All of humanity as one. And he is a grand man. He is the size of the entire manifestation. God makes Adam to be his God creates Adam to be his friend, his companion, his reflection, and everything. And when that happens, Adam is all of us. Adam is is humanity as a singular being, the prima materia. So that's where I think that the prima materia, Alan, thank you for that. That the first material that there is to build with, Adam Kadmon, is the start of everything. And we're right here talking about just the very very top rarefied, not very well understood Kabbalistic ideas of the beginning. And the Adam Kadmon, falls and breaks. Adam falls. It's the same as the biblical story there. He falls from grace, and he breaks into infinitesimally small and infinite pieces. And those pieces are our souls. The little light of God, the little flame of life that is spirit, that is burning in all of us, that give us our life. So we have a little piece of the one man, and that calls into mind one that Adam Kadmon is the baseline, the prima materia for all of us, for all of humanity. And that the Adam Kadmon in Hermetics, in Kabbalah, is synonymous with Albion in Blake's mythos. So Albion is the one grand man that all of humanity in eternity is gathered within him. He is the the whole of humanity in eternity. And when he falls into sleep and chaos, everybody fractures. They fracture out, and they become separate, seemingly separate entities that then don't work harmonious together anymore. So that's exactly the same idea. The Adam Kadmon and Albion from Blake's Jerusalem. And so then, just to back up a little bit more, we have in line 18 on chapter 3, just going right to the first page. Sound solid, made by the mallet of Los Demiurgos. Am I walking into eternity along Sandy Mount Strand? Crush, crack, crick, crick, wild sea money. So he's walking on the beach, walking on shells there, crunching them up. And he's walking like with his eyes closed and just hearing everything and almost kind of like having a game with himself. Can I walk, can I walk with my eyes closed and not, bust my ass? So he's walking, he's listening, and he's thinking. What came out to me right there is this sound solid, made by the mallet of Los Demiurgos. So Los is from Blake. Los is a being that does not fall. Blake or Albion falls, and like I said, he fractures, and four beings fracture out of him initially. We are fourfold. Every man, every female, every human being is fourfold. We have four aspects to our being. Body, emotional life, which is personality, also our intellect, our mind, and then we have the spirit, our spirit. Four different aspects of our life that go into making up who we are. Those four beings fracture out of Albion and become separate beings, but they are each fourfold. They each have those four aspects to themselves. Then, there is no loss. It seems like there's loss, but there's no loss ever. So, Los is one of these beings. Los is spirit. Los is the imagination. The spirit of prophecy is how he's put in Blake very specifically. The spirit of the imagination and the spirit of prophecy is what Los is. And Los does not fall into the creation the way that the others do. Los is the only one, the only immortal that doesn't fall into the creation. And he is outside of it. To him, the creation looks like bellowing furnaces. And he is a blacksmith. And he is just beating on it, breaking apart these kind of things that are not part of, not valid constructs that are these systems that are constructs of the creation that to us we see mathematics, for example. Mathematics is true. I'm not saying that mathematics doesn't work, but I'm saying that mathematics doesn't is not something that you have to work within that framework in your thinking or in your imagination, right? In your imagination, that system is not confining at all. We can use it as grist for the mill, but it's not something that we have to adhere to. Something like that, just by way of example. So Los sees that kind of stuff, breaks apart all the time, these constructs, trying to break free humanity, trying to save his buddy, save his friend Albion, and wake everybody up, wake Albion back up to get back to eternity. And he also is a builder. He's building a city in the creation. And so he's building a microcosmic city. And he's building a city in eternity, because they are two sides of the same coin. He's building a city called Golgonooza. And this is the eternal city in which everything that happens in the creation is on display, on show for the delights of the immortals. If they're not stuck in it, they can look on it and love it and remember different things and experience it through that again and stuff. But when they're locked in it and think that it's all that there is, it's a horror. So I say all that to back up the next point that let me just read the annotation from that same line 18. Los demiurgos, am I walking into eternity? Los, the creator, one of William Blake's symbolic figures, is central to the Book of Los. Los for Blake is related to the four zoas, the primal faculties, and is the embodiment of the creative imagination. The demiurge is both Plato's name for the creator of the material world, and in Gnostic theory and theosophy, the architect of the world. Compare that. Compare also the moment in Blake's Milton, when Milton enters Blake through the left foot. And the line there is, I stooped down and bounded on to walk forward through eternity. Now, it kind of rubs me the wrong way, and I want to bring it out to see if we can just kind of maybe find something, even maybe find out what Joyce is doing here. Like in Nestor, he has no problem with flipping a character on their head. DZ is like Alan at Big Books and Classics. DZ is not Nestor. DZ is an anti-Nestor in episode 2. That is very true. That's very perceptive too to see that. So Joyce can totally do this and no worries. So I'm not kind of bagging on Joyce. I'm actually wanting to dig into it deeper. So what they said there is fine. Los is not related to the four Zoas though. Los is one of the four Zoas. He's related to Albion as one of his members, but we all are. So, but Los is not the Demiurgos at all. And I don't think that in Proteus that Joyce is saying that Los is a Demiurgos. He might be saying that. But if you know anything about Blake, there's a beautiful picture called the Ancient of Days. I should have grabbed it. I can't believe I didn't grab that real quick. But everybody's seen it. If you've seen any Blake, it is. I'm just gonna say the popular. It's called the Ancient of Days. You can look it up very, very easily. It is God coming out through an orb, reaching down and measuring out a span, and that is giving measurement, giving a structure. So that's the act of creation to Blake, right? So that figure that Blake has doing that is the Demiurgos from Plato. That's valid to say that the Ancient of Days, that figure that creates, and the Demiurgos, that is that figure. Sure, and that's right. But that's not Los. The figure that is in that picture is Urizen. Now, Urizen is another one of the four Zoas. He's the mind. So what creates is our mind, and we want to systematize and want to understand and have structure and give so that we can predict, so that we can feel safe and secure in our lives and stuff like this. That's all Urizen. Urizen is the Demiurgos, not Los. So I just wonder what it is that Joyce is getting at with throwing that out there. What is Stephen thinking? What is the kind of thing that's being brought up there? Los in Jerusalem has a wonderful quote there. I will not reason and compare. My business is to create. So reasoning and comparing one thing to another, that is Urizen's jam. That is Urizen's role. That is your reason's role. And so that is the figure, that is the Demiurgos, that is the Ancient of Days and all that kind of stuff. But Joyce is saying Los right there. So I thought it interesting. Let me just check. I want to check the time here and see what we're looking at. All right, so I'll wrap it up. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me. Episode 3, we could talk for a day. So thank you for y'all who stuck with me till the end here, and happy reading. Thank you, BookTube.